Hello and welcome into the Knicks-Verse. My name is George, and if this is your first time here, or you've been here before but haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Because you now also turn on a notification bell because of videos like this. This is a big week. This is trade week. We're here. Only 4 days left, and it's already starting to heat up. Rumors are circulating, and I'm going to cover all the rumors from today that we have so far. First is CJ McCollum. Second is the Randle outburst with the assistant. And third, Goran Dragic. Yes, Goran Dragic. All right, well, let's go to the first one. Here we go. So Marc Stein, in his newsletter of sorts that he puts out, his Substack, Marc Stein, the Stein line, it's called the Stein line. The new Knicks, I guess he meant the New York Knicks, are emerging as a legitimate trade suitor for CJ McCollum of the Portland Trailblazers. Interesting. 30-year-old CJ McCollum, who just signed a $100 million 3-year contract. He has 2 years remaining. He's in the first year of that contract. This is an interesting one. I'll have a lot of things to say about this potential interest and what it actually might mean for the Knicks. Let's look at the next tweet here that Ian Begley put out. Opposing teams expect Knicks to check in on CJ McCollum ahead of the trade deadline. As at the Stein line said, Portland had expressed interest in Jeremy Grant. Teams expect New York Knicks to continue to try to open up rotation spot for Cam Reddish ahead of deadline. So that is good news. That is good news that teams still expect Leon to make room in the rotation, or to force Thibs to play Cam. Let's put it that way. let's twist it a little and force him to play Cam, because we've heard the actual the reports that it looks like Thibs did not want Cam. And you know what? Guess what? Thibs, you're not running this team. I know that you're worried about winning now, and I can see why you wouldn't want to disrupt your rotation per se. But come on. Got to have a little more forward-looking vision here. We are trying to win a championship. We're not going to win it this year, so we need to develop young players with very high ceilings, and Cam Reddish fits that profile perfectly. So it's a good thing. It's good news that Leon and Brock and company totally ignored Thibs' unwillingness to accept Cam on this roster, and now they're willing to make even further adjustments to force him to play. So that is good news. Here we go. Next. All right, this is tweeted out by Ben Rittenholtz, who I respect very much. He has some great basketball knowledge and insight, and he always puts out some really interesting tweets. He tweeted this out. CJ McCollum is expensive and past our timeline, therefore isn't worth giving up assets. Rational response. Now, CJ McCollum wouldn't make the Knicks basketball team significantly better. Irrational response. Yes, on face value, of course, adding CJ to this team would immediately make the Knicks a much better team. No doubt about that. There's absolutely no argument with that. Is he a better, more well-rounded player than either a Fournier or Burks? Yes, he is. He's been a fringe all-star most of his career, never made the team, but did lead the league 1 year in free throw shooting, and he's had to have been he's the sidekick, the dame, this whole time. So he's played off-ball most of his career, but he still has a pretty high usage rate. So when you think about it in terms of, for example, what kind of impact, he's having a season this year that is very in line with the seasons he's had before, and it's pretty commensurate with the contract that he signed. He is a very productive player. He's averaging 20 points a game right now. But what's interesting is when you look at his cleaning the glass stats, they actually have him listed as a wing now, not as a combo anymore, which I always find it interesting why they choose to put certain guys in certain places. So like originally they had Julius years ago listed as a big and not a forward. So his stats were impacted by that. But anyway, so CJ's usage percentage, his usage rate is a 94 percentile. So he's up there. However, his assist percentage, meaning how often let me pull this up exactly so I have the exact language on it. So his assist to usage ratio, The assist rate compared to usage rate. How often did a player get an assist given how much they had the ball? All right, this is interesting. He's 87th percentile. So even though the ball is in his hands often, he impacts, he moves the ball. He actually creates shots for other players as well. So that's a positive. So he's a high usage guy, but he's a high assist percentage guy, a high assist to usage percentage guy. Now, the negatives are, well, before I get to the negative, I'll go to the positive. His non-corner threes, he's in the 80th percentile. He's hitting about 39% of them, which is nice. So that's up there with, Fournier's been on fire lately this year, but in terms of, in January and February, but in terms of the whole season, they're pretty even. And the same goes with Burks. But the problem with CJ is the corner three, especially the right corner three. He is only hitting about 33% of those, and that is down in the 18th percentile. So in that sense, that is a drawback. However, let's keep going. This was tweeted out by Anally Knicks, which they also tweets out great stuff. CJ McCollum's pick and roll by season. So in 2019-2020, he had 8.1 possessions per game, 7.5 points per game, with a 0.93 points per possessions for the 71st percentile. That's pretty good, but look how he's been trending. In 2020-21, he ended up in the 83rd percentile. But in this season, he's down to 6.6 possessions per game in pick and roll, but it's amounting to 6.7 points per game, which is a 1.02 points per play. 88th percentile for pick and roll. CJ's been running less pick and roll, but getting a bit more efficient. That's good news. That's good news, especially with guys like Mitch, Nerlens. Now here comes the unfortunate part of this. Here's what this, to me, what this means is Julius Randle will not be traded before the trade deadline. That's what it sounds like to me. That's what the tea leaves are saying to me. Because if you bring a guy like CJ McCollum, who's on a different timeline, who's on a timeline closer to Julius 27, he's 30, that means that you're not going with the youth movement at the moment completely. Let's put it that way. And it also means that you are not moving Julius Randle, because it wouldn't make much sense to move Julius and bring in a player of CJ's caliber and resume onto this team if you're not thinking about winning now. This is a win now move. This is a try to get into the play-in move. And it makes sense. The Knicks are still, like I said before, they're at the bottom of the pack chasing the play-in, but they're much closer to the actual play-in than to the lottery, even though we are in the lottery right now. But if they went on a win streak, a little one even, just a 4-game one, they'd be right in it. So this signals a win now move for this season. And that to me is totally antithesis to what the Knicks should be doing. And if you saw the video that I put out yesterday, are the Knicks in a win-win situation now? I put out a list of what the must-dos must be. And one of them is go. You can still try to get into the play-in, but it has to be led by the youth. The keys of this team have to be handed to RJ. Now, the cool thing about CJ is he's used to not being the main guy. So in that respect, that fits. However, the timelines don't fit. The money is huge. I feel like it's kind of trying to redo what the mistakes that were done in the beginning of this season, in the off season in terms of trades. You know, you signed Kemba and Fournier, didn't really work out. So now you combine those two and you turn it into CJ McCollum, in essence, where he can he's not a point guard, but he can definitely handle a lot of the point guard duties. And in that respect, that also can work. If they start him as the point guard and still put the ball in RJ's hands the majority of the time, and of course Randle's going to get his more than fair amount of touches, it could work in terms of actually starting to win. However, that shouldn't be the goal right now. That should not be the goal. Winning with vets is not the objective. Winning with youth should be the primary focus. So that is the downside. That is the downside that I see of this type of interest. Even if it never happens, it just shows that Randle may not be traded, which is very, very bad news. Very bad news because of this. So, you probably have heard about it. Mark Berman put an article out about it. Julius Randle in computer altercation with Knicks assistant. And then Berman tweeted this out. Thibodeau said the computer altercation between assistant Scott King and Julius Randle on bench was resolved. Computers are part of the NBA. It's the heat of the moment. I have no idea what that even means, what he's even trying to say. Of course, computers are part of the NBA. It'd be ridiculous. Looking at plays during timeouts is standard. It's just standard life. He's covering for Julius. Julius got in his face. I'll show you the video. Let's go. Here we go. He's trying to show him something. It's a defensive play. And he slaps the computer. And then he says, "What'd you say to me? What'd you say to me?" And the guy, what I love is King, he doesn't necessarily back down right away. He's just like, man, you're being ridiculous. It's like, and look, Johnny Bryant had to get in. Kenny Payne had to get in. This is during the game against the Lakers. And we wonder what the players themselves are thinking. Come on. This is horrible. This is horrible. This is a horrible look for the Knicks. Horrible look for Julius. This undermines the moment of value inflation that he created by his outstanding game that he had on the court. I mean, he did make mistakes against the Lakers. He did have lapses in defense, obviously. Look at that. He didn't even want to look at it. He's probably thinking, man, I'm having a great game. Don't show me that shit where I didn't go out and cover a guy out on the line. That's not a leader. That's not a leader. Even more proof right there. That's even more proof that the Knicks should not continue with Julius Randle as the leader of this team. I would prefer that we trade him. Next, Goran Dragic. Now, Alder Almo, he tweeted this out. Another important thing to note on Marc Stein's report is Toronto's willingness to attach a draft pick to Goran Dragic's expiring salary. This is the kind of deal that this present Knicks front office has leveraged in the past. Now, what does that mean? Okay, so the Raptors they need a center. They need a number 5. We got Nerlens. Let's do it. If they're willing to attach a first-round pick to get off of Goran's contract, let's do it. Let's make that move. I would rather do that than the CJ McCollum and hold on to Randle situation. At least this, we get us another number 1 pick. And Goran has always been a solid point guard. Actually, he's had times where he's been an excellent point guard. We need bodies at this time to can actually handle the ball and run the point, because obviously Thibs doesn't want to hand the keys and the point guard keys too quickly yet, and Deuce hasn't seen any burn at all. And then we got Derrick Rose coming back February 25th, but again, no guarantees that he's going to return to the player that he was. Who never know with injuries, especially with ankles. But I'm fingers crossed. Either way, this is an interesting thing for them to look at, be open to. It doesn't really impact the timeline in any way because, that's it. It's only on for the rest of the season. So I'm curious about this idea here. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this. I want to hear your thoughts about all this news. If you're in favor, not in favor, and I want to hear what you guys think about the new Julius Randle Outburst. That video was shot by a fan, and that's why we had not heard about it until early this morning. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching this, and more news will be breaking, and I'll be jumping on. All right. Thank you so much for watching this. Please subscribe, hit the thumbs ups, and drop your comments, and I will see you around the Knicks-Verse.